The President, please be seated. The trial chamber is back in session, and the floor is now given to Defense Counsel for Nguyen Chia to continue his line of questioning for the witness. Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors, Mr. Witness. Before the lunch break, we were speaking about people being sent from the reception area at the Beehive radio station to Prey Sar. Let me follow up on that and ask you some questions about Prey Sar. You have mentioned that already quite a bit in your evidence, more particularly in E3/1570, English ERN 00154-192 and Khmer 00154-222. You said the following: Prey Sar was part of S21. It was not a place for interrogation, detention, or execution. It was a place for production and re-education. Those who were sent there were not accused prisoners, but people with disciplinary problems within their units in the Phnom Penh sector. Their situation did not differ from that of workers in cooperatives. They were not in prison. End of quote. Is that correct?
Witness, thank you, Mr. President. I confirm repeatedly that Prey Sar was not a prison, and the people at Prey Sar was not called enemy. They were called people. Their rights were equivalent to the new people at different cooperatives.
In another WRI, E3/1578, English ERN 00194547 and Khmer 00178-021, you say, and I quote,
and the French, please.
Yes, I will give you that later, Judge Leverne. I'm not in a position to give you many details, since it was Hui who was in charge of the organization. Is that correct? You are not in a position to give many details because it was Hui who was running the operation at Prey Sar?
Witness, thank you, Counsel. Mr. President, the Counsel's question seems very brief. The quote seems very brief. But I would like to say that I was the chief who have overall supervision. I know what happened at S24. They did not interrogate people and they did not decide to smash anyone. The main purpose of Prey Sar was to do rice production. But in real practice and the details, I could not grasp everything. So we have to be clear on this. So what were falling under my supervision, I know, and the the details under their supervision and their responsibility would be managed by those cadre.
And the French ERN of that excerpt was 00178-033. Mr. Witness, what do you remember about Kampong Chnang airfield?
Witness, thank you, Counsel. Mr. President, Kampong Chnang airfield was under the supervision of Comrade Mate of Division 502. I simply learned that later Sun Sen removed some combatants of Division 410 for that construction. They were disarmed for that purpose. My brother-in-law, who was in a division and was also sent to Kampong Chnang airfield for construction.
In your last testimony, you, in case 3 and 4, you talked about Kampong Chnang airfield, and you said in E319/42.3.2, question and answer 28, that, and I quote, the North divisions, such as Division 310, 450, Comrade Chin's division, were moved to construct the airport. Do you know when that was, when they were moved?
Witness, thank you. Mr. President, the removal people from these divisions, including my brother-in-law, I do not remember the date of that removal, but they were actually removed and sent over there.
Do you know who made the decision as to who would be sent to S21 to be interrogated? People like the commander, for instance, Un. And who would go to Kampong Chnang airfield to work there? Who made that decision?
Witness, thank you, Counsel. Mr. President, your questions seems to be repetitive, so I would like to give my last response. It was decided by Office 870, and the person who implemented the decision was Sun Sen.
Let me phrase it differently. Who decided upon the criteria that a certain number of Division 310 people, for instance, were sent to be interrogated by you, and others were sent to work at Kampong Chnang airfield?
Witness, thank you, Counsel. Mr. President, it seems the same question. I think it is the same question.
Let me try it differently. I don't have the exact excerpts now with me, but let me ask it to you. Let me tell you in a general way. I will be returning to his testimony later, Mr. Witness, but in this courtroom, a former combatant of Division 310 testified. His name is Sam Hoon, and he gave substantial evidence about the involvement of his commander Un and Koi Toon in attacks on Radio Phnom Penh, Washington Airfield, etc. He talked about his role storing arms in Kampong Chhnang. He was sent to Kampong Chhnang Airfield to work there, although he was involved, it seems, in this rebellion. Now, taking him as an example, why was it that he was sent to Kampong Chhnang Airfield and certain others within Division 310 were sent to S-21?
Witness, I will give the same answer to your same question.
Let me see if I can do it again in a different way. Mr. President, I would like to show the witness E3/13. I took away the binder. It's, I think, easier to just show him the document. These are the minutes of the meeting of secretaries and deputy secretaries of divisions. So with your leave, I would like to give the greffier this document.
President, your request is granted.
Mr. Witness, I'll be referring you to the green excerpt. Mr. President, I will be referring to English ERN 00940353, Khmer 0005241 and 14, and French 003444983. So it is Son Sen talking with division commanders such as Un, Song, Dim. They talk about Chakrai. That's the quote that I referred to you yesterday. But on this green highlighted excerpt, Son Sen says the following. Operational methods. Continuous education is imperative. 2. It is imperative to purge no good elements, absolutely, in the sense of an absolute class struggle. The purge is premised on 3 principles. Category 1, the dangerous category, they must be absolutely purged. Category 2, the ordinary liberal category, they must be educated again and again in our education schools. Category 3, the category of those who have merely been incited by the enemy, merely believing in the enemy incitement. As a first step, they should undergo refashioning to get them to no longer believe the enemy. End of quote. Mr. Witness, is this division into 3 categories something that you remember?
Witness, thank you, counsel. Mr. President, the division into three categories of enemies, it was defined in the party policy since its creation in 1960. But in each category, it depends on the person in charge who make division and implement the policy.
Now, of course, you do not know the person I just referred to, Sam Hun, but whoever it was that made the decision to send him to Kampong Chhnang airfield, would he be applying that principle with those three categories?
Witness. Thank you, Counsel. Normally, the Office 870 had actually defined these three categories of enemy, but the problem remains in who make such this division, and it developed based on the time of movement from time to time. I don't know who Sam Hun was, but this policy shall be implemented at various sector, district, and so on. And this is the three category of enemies as listed here.
Let me follow up, Mr. Witness, on the things you said in response to a question from, I believe, Judge Laverne in relation to a document indicating the release of prisoners of Division 920. Now, I'm not going to show you that document again because you know it and you've talked about it. But, let me ask you the following. Have you ever heard of an organization called DC Cam?
Witness. Thank you. Yes, I heard of it. And one document that I refer to, especially the signature and handwriting of Sun Sen in his response to me, this document is at DC camp. You can find that document at DC camp. Yes, I know DC camp.
Do you also know the director of DC Cam, Yuk Chang?
Witness. I have never met him in person or shook hand with him, but I heard of his name.
Mr. President, with your leave, I would like to show the witness a document. I'll put it also on the screen. It's document E3/3992, English ERN 005482253, Khmer 00814871-73, and French 00836686-87. It is a newspaper article from the Cambodia Daily of Thursday, August 28, 2008.
Mr. President, I don't have any objection to the witness being asked about this article, but in fairness to the witness, I think he should have the Division 920 list that the article is about.
It's my cross-examination. Sorry to interrupt, but I know exactly what the prosecution is trying to do. He has had his chance, so I'm interrupting him right now. I want to show him the article. That's it.
I would appreciate not being interrupted. I believe it is in the interests of fairness to the witness that he not simply be shown an article, but he be shown the actual document that the article is written about.
That was done already by the bench, and I'm now showing the witness this article, and I am entitled to do so. So, Mr. Witness, can you read with me in that article the passages that I highlighted?
President, hold on, witness.
To clarify for the bench, there was no objection because there wasn't a question yet. You had just put something on record, and we are now waiting for the question. Yes.
Let me read to you excerpts from this Cambodia Daily article, and hopefully it can be put on the screen in the English version as well. And a year and a half later, on or about November 26, 1977, 100 soldiers, including a single woman, all between the ages of 17 and 38, walked out of the darkest place in democratic Kampuchea, according to the records on file at the Documentation Center of Cambodia. Out of the 77 prisoners DCCAM now believes were released from S21, researchers have so far located one, a Kandal province father of 6, DCCAM director Yuk Chang said this week. A second person, whose detention has not yet been confirmed, was being interviewed Wednesday by DCCAM. And a bit further, however, Yuk Chang said in interviews this week that records of releases at S21 have long been known to exist. These are documents sitting there for the past 30 years, Yuk Chang revealed Tuesday. We've made it available all the time, but somehow it didn't get the interest, he said, end of quote. Mr. Witness, he's referring to prisoners from Division 920. As the article seems to suggest, he has located at least 2. That seems to be in contrast with your earlier evidence that people from Division 920 were not released, but executed. Can you give a reaction to what Yuk Chang is saying in that Cambodia Daily article?
Mr. President, I do have an objection because counsel, this is why the original record should be used with the witness and not an article, because counsel is now misrepresenting the evidence. The one survivor that was found was not one of the Division 920 soldiers. We know that from DCCAM's records. It was someone that was one of these 1976 individuals. The person was not released. They were sent to Prey Sar. So I think if counsel is going to get into this in the interests of a fair record, he should be using the actual records and not be making misrepresentations, such as that a Division 920, one of those 100 Division 920 soldiers has been found, which is simply not true.
Let's not get into that detail then. Let me just look at the headline of that article. And let's not tie it to any division, any particular division. The headline or the title of that DCCAM article says, 177 released from S21, DCCAM records show. Can you give a reaction to that?
Witness. Thank you, Mr. President. DCCAM was one of the NGOs while S21 was an establishment of a DK government headed by the CPK. So the journalists can make any comment at their wish. But S21, under the absolute dictatorship policy of CPK, anyone who was arrested and sent to S21 was smashed. So anyone can make a comment or statement, but it is based on no ground they can make based on their discussion.
Mr. Witness, last week and the week before we briefly talked about a new prisoners list, not the one that you know, but the one that was made by investigators of the international co-investigating judges in case 3 and 4. That document indicates that there were about potentially 15,000 plus prisoners. But in that same report, or at least the name list seems to suggest that of those 15,000 or so individuals, only of course between quotation marks, 5,512 individuals of whom execution dates are available. So that would seem to suggest 1 in 3. Could you give a reaction to that number?
President, co-prosecutor, you may proceed.
Sorry to be on my feet again. I'm not sure how the witness can comment on a document he hasn't been provided to look at. He's being asked to provide an observation on the new OCIJ list and on the number of prisoners in that list who have execution dates, but he hasn't seen the list. So I don't know how he can make an observation on something he hasn't seen.
And I think in this case, with a big list like that, it's a bit broad to say make an observation on it. I mean, I would understand the question which says, can you explain why there are only 5,512 execution dates? But generally saying this is the list, comment on the numbers, perhaps a bit more precise.
Well, there didn't seem to be a problem when the witness was using the OCP list all the time. But let me rephrase it without using that OCIJ list, Mr. Witness. In your recollection, a number of 5,512 individuals possibly being executed. Is that something that would approximate your recollection of the total number?
Let me clarify the matter. I am not entitled to make the estimation. I am talking of the practical situation. The list by OCP, Kosopo in Khmer, what is the full form of OCP? The list that I have confirmed is still confirmed by me. What is OCP in full form? Kosopo in Khmer. And which list are you referring to? Please do not confuse things. Make it clear. We are here to find the truth for the Court and also for Cambodian people. Please do not mix up things.
Well, you see, Mr. President, he is referring back to his document. So,
but perhaps to clarify, OCP means Office of the Co-Prosecutors, because he didn't understand the acronym. This was one of the questions. So it is a list. There's one list provided by OCP and one list, I think, by the co-investigating judges.
Witness. Thank you. Yes, I have used and seen the list of OCP. And that list was used up to 10 April 2012. That is the conclusion of the first trial against my case rather. And the list was drawn up by the Office of Co-Prosecutors and the Office of Co-Investigating Judges is aware of the list. Later on, I heard over the radio broadcast that names of prisoners inscribed at S21 were from that list. And the total number of prisoners that we agreed is over 12,000 prisoners. And John Kerry made a visit at Stuart Slang on 26. And there is another individual, a Japanese, working at the United Nations office. The staff of prison department brought a Japanese woman from United Nations to see me, and that Japanese woman wanted to see me at the time. So two people were present at the prison to see me. One was the Japanese woman, and another one was the deputy director of the prison department. So the list is confirmed by the court, and it is widely known on the international arena as well that certain individual, for example, over 12,000 prisoners died at S21.
Let me move on, Mr. Witness. And let me show you another document. With your leave, Mr. President, I would like to show the witness a document of which there's only a Khmer translation available, or there's only a Khmer version, rather. It's E3/8463, ERN Khmer 0001597. And maybe we can have it on the screen as well.
បើអង្គជំរាបអនុញ្ញាត
President, yes, you may proceed.
Mr. Witness, can you read the line on the very top?
Witness, thank you, Mr. President. I'm now reading the document requested me to, by the Council to read. The list of names of high-level cadres of Pol Pot.
Do you recognize this document?
Allow me to inform Mr. President and the court that this list does not belong to S21. And this list, the names in the list were not taken from the list of that are used until 10 April 2012. And the title of the list is List of Names of High-Level Cadres of Pol Pot. No list was named after Pol Pot. And the list was not drawn up during the Democratic Cambodia.
Do you have any idea who made up that list then?
I do not know who made up the list. They had money to spend and they had easy life because they drew up the list of names. And again, this list was not drawn up by the Democratic Cambodia.
Let's have a look at some names on this list.
Sorry, what are you implicating? Who had money? Who had too much time to invent a list? Please don't speculate. Just say what you know.
My answer is they. I mean other individual other than staff members of the DK. They.
So whoever.
Unknown people. But what I want to make it clear is that this list was not made by S21 or any organs of DK. President, you may proceed. International Deputy Co-Prosecutor.
Just so the record is clear, can I ask that it be identified what specific pages were given to the witness? This is this E38463 consists of many different documents, many pages. What specific pages were provided to the witness, just so the record is clear?
I gave my copy, but I believe it's the first 2 pages of E3/8463. Yes. Well, let's not speculate about who they is or who they are. Mr. Witness, I'm seeing names like Hu Yun, Hu Nim, Tif Ol, Men Sun alias Ya, Q Miz, Suznov alias Chuk, Chanchakrai. I see their names, I see their aliases, I see their positions, I see an entry date, and I also see a smash date. Let me go back again. What is it exactly that makes you say that this is not a contemporaneous DK document? Is it the format? Is it the names? Is it the title of the document?
Thank you, Counsel. Mr. President. This list was not used by all of us up to 10 April 2012. The format is different from the previous one. The list that I used up to 10 April 2012 includes names in Khmer in the first column and Latin in the second column. And the sequential number here is different from the one that I used. And the list that I used up to 10 April 2012 was with a different year number, and this is a new year, and there's a new year number on this document, and I believe that this list is used after 10 April 2012, and the names may be different from the names that were in the list, in the previous list.
Let me repeat. You will be confronted with documents that you haven't seen so far. This just means that you haven't seen the documents so far. It doesn't say anything about the quality of the documents. What we want to know is, this document, which you haven't seen before, is this a document which originated in the democratic Cambodia time? Or are you saying, no, it cannot be from this time, no matter whether you have seen it before or not? So my question is, are you saying this is not a document from the period of democratic Cambodia? Or are you just saying, I've never seen this document?
I am sure that the list that we used, the first list that we used up to 10 April 2012 was shown to me by the co-investigating judges, and we made a verification afterwards.
This is not the question. I have a very clear question. Counsel has given you a document. I understand you haven't seen it before. Can you tell me if this document was produced between 75 and 79? Yes or no? Or I don't know.
Yes or no? Let me tell the truth. This list is suspicious, and I think it is not the contemporaneous list. And if the list is the contemporaneous one, why the list was not shown to me or was not collected into the file? And
you said the list is suspicious. You said this is because you don't know it. As we have told you before, since 2012, new evidence has been discovered. So what other reason is there, if any, for you to say this list is suspicious? Is it only because you haven't seen it before, or is there any other reason why you are saying this list might not be from 75 to 79?
I cannot explain. It is beyond my knowledge. I knew only the list, and I could only answer about the list that we used up to 10 April 2012, and the other list could not be answered by me. President, so the witness already responded to the question. I heard that in Khmer. And he said that the list here was not made by S21, and it was not also a contemporaneous document from DK. So do we want the witness to repeat the answer? The question I heard was rephrased in order to elicit the answers, but in fact the answers were already given by the witness that the list was not made by S21 or DK. So then you can move on, and we cannot put a question to ask the witness to presume. And the witness is clear already that this document was not made by S21 and DK.
Then I'll move on to another document, Mr. Witness. That is certainly not a DK document. There's no doubt about that. I'm referring, Mr. President, to E3/1993. English ERN 0006486 and further, Khmer 00796735 and further, in French 00795330. Maybe we can have the Khmer version on screen so that you can read along, Mr. Witness. So just to be sure, this is not a DK document. It is a document from the People's Revolutionary Tribunal held in Phnom Penh. Document for the trial of the genocide crime of the Pol Pot Ieng Sary clique. The document has as a title, Important Culprits Arrested from 1976 to April 1978. So maybe, with your leave, Mr. President, I can have the first page of that document in Khmer on the screen so that the witness can have a look at this.
អង្គជំរះអនុញ្ញាត
President, you may proceed.
Mr. Witness, can you see the document?
ក៏មកអត់ទាន់ហើយបើមិនមាន
Please wait. I think it's better to have a printed copy in physical form, and the witness may not be able to see it clearly on the screen. So that was the screen that was projected with the document only as a evidence.
I'm a bit hesitating as to which of the two versions to show the document, because the original document is English, and the Khmer translation that I showed him was done here. I
ការបង្ហាញរបស់
Yes, the document can be shown on the screens, but I suggest a printed copy should be given to the witness, for the witness to read it clearly. The document shown on the screen is not clearly enough.
ហើយសូមអនុវត្តដូចគ្នា
And please adhere to this practice from now on. The printed copies should be given to the witnesses, since some documents after they were shown on the screen could not be read. You may proceed now, Counsel.
So, for you to understand what I'm showing you, Mr. Witness, I'm showing you a document which we in the case file originally have only in English. What you have is a Khmer translation of that English document, which presumably at one point was Khmer itself. But we're having a list of important culprits arrested from 1976 to April 9, 1978, a document that was used in the 1979 trial against Pol Pot and Ieng Sary. Do you remember that document from your own case file?
From the investigation stage up to the trial proceedings against me, I did not see the document, and the document was not shown to me.
Let me see if it would help you or assist you if I showed you the English original version, at least the first two pages. And then I will also give you the second page of the Khmer translation. So with your leave, Mr. President, if the court officer could show this document to the witness.
President, yes, please.
And then I will have the first page of the English version on screen. With your leave, Mr. President.
អនុញ្ញាត
President, yes, please.
អរគុណ
I have read it.
Do you recognize the English version from your case file?
Thank you for asking such a question. The People's Revolutionary Tribunal for the trial of Pol Pot Ieng Sari clique was not heard by me since the time I was detained at the military court and until the proceedings against me in case 001, and this list was not shown to me.
Let me explain to you the reason why I wanted you to have a look at both those documents, E3/8463 and E3/1993. Both documents are dealing with important prisoners or important culprits. And the document that comes from the People's Revolutionary Tribunal indicates about 243 important culprits or cadres, of course, from 76 to April 1978. But assuming the months after, would that be accurate? A total number of quote-unquote important prisoners between 243 and let's say 300?
I do not understand. I do not want to predict or to estimate.
Let me ask it differently. On many occasions you said HOR was responsible for the non-important prisoners, I was responsible for the important prisoners. Can you give us an approximate number as to how many prisoners in total at S21 were considered important prisoners and how many were considered non-important prisoners?
If you really want to explore that, I would ask Haverman to review the list, and the list should be given to me by you, and after that I can give you the answer.
Well, Mr. Witness, you were there at the time. You gave lots of evidence about this distinction between important and non-important prisoners. So really, there is no need for you to have a look at a document first. Either you remember it or you don't remember it. So again, can you roughly estimate or tell us how many prisoners in total were considered by S21 to be important and how many were considered to be not belonging to that group?
Witness, thank you, counsel. I cannot speculate any figure because I don't have any other list to make the total amount or number of the prisoners.
Well, that seems to be quite consistent with all your other testimony. As soon as you have a document, you are able to give us an informed opinion. Is that it?
President Council, please move on. It's appear that you want the witness to make the evaluation of his testimony. It is inappropriate. The evidence and proof before the chamber, it is the chamber who will give probative value of the evidence. So I don't think the witness has any obligation to make any assessment of his own testimony.
Let me give it last one try by asking it in a different manner. Mr. Witness, what was the criterion to make a distinction? When was someone an important prisoner, and when was someone a non-important prisoner? For instance, I can imagine if he was a sector chief or a division chief, he would be an important prisoner. But where was the line, the border? When did the prisoner become non-important and that you had nothing to do with him anymore?
Witness, thank you, counsel. Mr. President, in the proceedings against me and my case, and in this proceeding, important prisoners was considered based on the period. So Division 170, when Sosopan was arrested and sent to S21, so he was the source of information for S21. So he was considered important prisoners because he swallowed a screw and he was painful, and there was an order to do surgery so that we can keep him for interrogation. For example, Yim Sambat, who involved in grenade explosion. So he was one of the important prisoner because he was the main source of information. So when Chan Chakray was arrested, and he was the person that the center paid more attention to him. So when Koi Thun was arrested, and Koi Thun was the member of the center party, so he was considered important prisoner. Son Sen and the upper echelon, and also myself, wanted to know what is the confession or the statement of this prisoner going to be. So I think I reported or I responded to various questions on this matter. So important prisoner, it connected to the political context or trend. So sometimes in an incident, Koi Thun was considered important prisoner. So there's no real criteria for determining anyone as important prisoner.
Let me ask one last question about this subject. Let me refer you to something you said yourself in E3/5772, English ERN 00209170, Khmer 001-86194, and French 00186210. You said, Mr. Witness, prisoners only came from within the party, not from the popular masses. Do you remember saying that? And if yes, what exactly did you mean with that?
Witness. Thank you, counsel. Mr. President, most of the prisoners who were sent to S21 were party members or those who were from the youth league of the party. But in the southwest zone, the cadre prisoner and also the prisoner who were arrested from the mass were also kept at the security office at the southwest zone. This was the practice during the DK regime.
Do you remember
Yeah, Mr. President, can I simply ask a clarification that I'm looking at the page that was cited by counsel and the quote about prisoners coming from the party, not the popular masses. Those are the words of the investigating judges. They're asking a question. Do we have a citation or a year-end page where the witness himself said this? Or I think that should be clear because the quote that was used comes from the investigating judges.
Allow me to get back to that, Mr. President. I just wrote the quote down, but I'm happy to, if prosecution is correct, to reformulate the question. But I think you gave the answer already, Mr. Witness. Is it correct that prisoners did not come from the popular masses, prisoners in S21?
Witness, thank you. In principle and at the beginning, yes, it was like that. But later there was a prisoner from the bandit and other places. But the main purpose of S21 was to detain prisoners who were from party and combatant. And later I found that prisoners from the bandit were also sent to S21. So the real practice is was different from the principle. President, thank you, counsel. Now it is appropriate time for court break. So the recess will be until 3 o'clock. Court officer, please assist the witness during the break and bring him back to the courtroom at 3 o'clock. The court is in recess.